In this video, we're going to be talking about collaborations. Jamie Jasperson is here. She is the queen of collaborations. She actually organizes a giant collaborative event each year for TpT sellers called Spring Fling. And today she's talking all about using collaborations to help you build your business and how you can get started with collaborations, the best type of collaborations to start with, how to get over the fear of asking people to take part in a collaboration that you are planning, and more. I absolutely cannot wait for you to meet Jamie. Jamie was actually on the podcast in one of the very early episodes of The Rebranded Teacher, and she was talking about Instagram. And I'm so excited to welcome back Jamie. Hey, Jamie, how are you?
Good. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you back because it's been a while. Actually, you were one of the very first interviews that I had for Rebranded Teacher over a year ago now at this point. So it's really exciting to have you back. Last time you were here, you were talking about Instagram, and today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different, which I'm really excited about. But you want to just catch us up, let us know what you've been doing inside of your business, and tell us a little bit about what's coming up because you're here for a very special reason. And we'll talk a little bit more about that reason later on in the podcast. But tell us a little bit about why you're here and maybe what we're going to be talking about today.
Sure. Yeah. It's exciting to be back. I was remembering when we visited over a year ago, I went back and listened to that episode again and was remembering our conversation. So it's been fun to kind of reflect on that and see how far both of our businesses have gone since then. So I'm excited to be back and chat some more. And we're going to talk a little bit about collaboration tonight, which is a topic I'm really passionate about. I just have found so much joy in my business from collaborating with other people. And so I'm excited to kind of chat about that with you, especially getting ready to move into Spring Fling, which is the online conference that I host for teacher business owners every year. And this is going to be our 4th year. So that's really exciting.
Spring Fling is literally like the ultimate collaboration. So I was really excited when you said, let's talk about collaboration. And because it's literally all of these incredible teacher business owners coming together to share knowledge and information. And you do something really amazing that I don't think that anybody else in the TpT seller space does, in that you offer a free ticket to Spring Fling, like admission to come in and to take part is free. In light of where we're going with this conversation and talking about collaboration, can you talk to me a little bit about that free part? Why was it important to you to offer a free version, or not a free version? The conference is free, to offer the conference for free to anybody who wants to come?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great question because every year that I've done this, I've considered again whether or not it's something I want to continue to offer for free and kind of reevaluated my values on that. And every year I've also come to the conclusion, no, this still is important to me to have this available for free. So I'll explain a little bit about the different tickets. So there's 2 tickets to attend Spring Fling. There's a free ticket and the whole event is free for the weekend. So you can watch all of the sessions. You can be in the Facebook group. Many of our presenters choose to go live in the Facebook group and do kind of a Q&A session. You get to have that whole experience for free for the weekend. And then if you would like to have an all access pass, you can choose to upgrade. And the all access pass gives you access to all the sessions for a year. And then there are additional bonuses that our presenters contribute and kind of some extra features. But I've continued to offer that free ticket because of my love for collaboration and because I think this is such a good way for people to come together. And I think sometimes people are afraid to come together when it costs money. And there's totally value to paid events because I've also hosted paid events and have paid programs, but I find the bigger value of this event is people coming together, getting to meet new people. And the point of it isn't for you to watch every single session in the weekend. There's way too many sessions for you to watch all of them. The point of it is for you to kind of be exposed to new things that are available, maybe that you haven't heard of before or people you haven't met before. And then from there, kind of decide where you want to invest or which relationships you want to develop further.
Yeah, I love that. And you know, I was a presenter at Spring Fling last year. You were so gracious to invite me and so gracious to invite me again this year. And I'm really excited because I enjoyed it so much for the exact reasons that you spoke about. It was an opportunity, even for me as a business owner, to get in front of people and to kind of build relationships with people who may not necessarily be willing to spend money yet inside of their business, but they were able to get like valuable knowledge and information, the tools that they needed to grow their business. So thank you so much for doing that. We'll talk a little bit more about Spring Fling doing here in a little bit, but let's talk about that collaboration piece that's so important to you and to the core of your business. Can you tell me, where does that come from? Where is the drive for collaboration? Because I collaborate a lot now in my business, but I'm not naturally wired towards that. I'm more of like not a team player. I'm more of like a loner, and in a lot of what I do in life. Where did that drive and that push come from that drove you to build so much of your business around collaboration?
That's a great question. I have found, kind of like you, lots of people go into this kind of business because they want something to do for themselves. And I think that's fantastic. And something I love about being in the teacher business space is getting to meet so many different people who do things different ways and getting to understand their perspective. My passion for collaboration really comes from a job that I had in college. So when I was getting my undergraduate degree, I worked for the Office of First Year Experience as a peer mentor, and then later in that same office as a training coordinator. So just worked there for several years. And my boss in that office had this passion for collaboration. And he would really teach us about like professional learning communities and collaborative groups and talking about collaborating within different teams, and set up this system within the office so that later when I was a training coordinator and worked with him directly to train new employees and develop systems, I kind of really adopted that belief from him of how important collaboration is. And I just found that I loved getting to work with other people and getting to learn from other people. And I found such value in hearing other people's stories and using their skills. And so as I've moved into business and really grown my business, I've tried to bring that along with me, looking outside of myself to collaborate, because this can be a little bit of a lonely space. I work by myself a lot of the time. And so I found that since I missed having a team, I could create that team in different ways just by reaching out to build those collaborative relationships.
I love that. So I want to ask you a question that kind of directly relates to something that I'm doing in my own business right now in terms of collaboration. And that is like within RTA, we have small focused coaching groups. And one of my coaching groups right now, we're looking at, collaborating to build your email list. And one of the mental hurdles that a lot of people in this group are having is like that fear of like reaching out to people to take part in collaborations. Do you have any advice for somebody who's like listening right now and they're like, it sounds really great, but like, what if I'm reaching out to people and they don't want to be a part of what I'm doing? Or how do I start to reach out to people? Like, can you maybe give some advice that would help them get over that mental hurdle to reach out and to take the plunge and actually just start those collaborations with people?
I think that it kind of goes two different directions. So I can talk about both of those. So one direction that this can go is like with cold pitching. So cold pitching is when you're talking to someone that you have never spoken to before. If you're sending them an Instagram DM and you have never sent them a message, and that can feel super scary because you're like, what's going to happen? And I think the first mindset shift to have is they could just say no. They could just ignore you. It could be totally fine. People send cold pitches all the time. So you can just kind of let that go. And if you're doing a cold pitch where you've never spoken to them before, I think it's really important to lead with the value for the other person. Mm-hmm. So talk about what they're going to get from it. Talk about why you picked them and be very honest. And people can tell if you're just picking them because you're hunting for someone. And so if you are just hunting for someone, then you're not at the right stage, I think, to cold pitch, because you want to pick people really intentionally. And I have found, being on both the giving and the receiving end of cold pitches, that it can kind of go like really good or really bad based on how authentic that honesty is. If someone reaches out to me and they're like, hey, I've really enjoyed your content for these reasons, and because of that, I think this opportunity would be really beneficial, I'm interested in listening to that, versus if someone's like, hey, I sell necklaces and I'll send you one. Like, it doesn't align with my content. I know they know nothing about me. The other direction it can go is warm pitching, where you do have a relationship with someone. And sometimes you can kind of build that relationship before you reach out. And that can just be by sending them messages, by engaging with their content, by sending them an email and starting a conversation and starting to nurture that relationship before you reach out. And sometimes that can feel a little bit more comfortable. Or sometimes that can feel a little bit more scary because you're like, what if they don't want a relationship with me? And I think the hurdle there is the same thing. They could just say no, and they don't have to say yes. And it really comes from that authenticity in what you're saying. Like, don't just randomly say generic stuff, but be really specific and look to become a friend rather than just like a contact.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I love that you talked about the difference between the warm pitching and the cold pitching, because for sure, starting with somebody that would be an easy yes for a collaboration can be a whole lot easier. And then once you get that one yes, then it can kind of give you that little confidence boost that you need to kind of like maybe reach out to somebody that might be a little bit more intimidating for you, So let's talk about the different types of collaborations. When we're talking about collaborating with people, what kind of collaborations are we talking about? Are we talking about paid collaborations, email collaborations, big, small? What are we talking about here?
I think this can go like so many different directions. It is limitless, the ways that you can collaborate. You can come up with really innovative ideas, but I find a lot of collaborations kind of fall into 3 different categories. So you have free collaborations where no one is receiving money. And then you have paid collaborations where you're receiving money, maybe like an affiliate collaboration sometimes, and they're receiving a different amount of money. And then you have kind of equal collaborations where both people are receiving the same amount of money. And those go in huge varieties amongst them. Yeah. I think the important thing to remember with a free collaboration is people still receive something. And so if you're asking someone to collaborate with you on something for free, you can still help them find the value in it. Maybe they get more people on their email list. Maybe they get more eyes on their content. Maybe they get in front of a new audience. That money isn't the only way to get value from a collaboration.
What was the very first collaboration that you did in the TpT space, like the TpT author space?
I really think Spring Fling was my first collaboration.
Oh, really?
So yeah, which sounds kind of scary because I hosted an entire conference and that was the first collaboration I did. And it was scary, I'll be honest. Yeah, I can talk more about that. The first Spring Fling I did was actually in 2020, and I had never done something like that before virtually, but in that same job I talked about, I had helped plan in-person events. So I had some event planning experience where I'd had to bring in presenters, and I'd seen a lot of people do kind of online conferences, but it was still really new because before 2020, I mean, we might not remember, but doing an online conference was kind of a novel idea. Like people did in-person conferences. And I had this idea that if we did a conference online and could bring people together, it could be more accessible for people and more people could be involved. And so I really wanted to do it. And I actually planned it before COVID was a thing. So Spring Fling happened the same week that kind of everything shut down. So there's a lot of lessons learned from that. My first Spring Fling, we had 21 presenters and we had about 500 people attend. For my little tiny business, that was a monumental event and I was so excited about it. Yeah. Spring Fling has grown a ton. Now we have thousands of attendees and this year we're going to have over 30 presenters as we're going into our 4th year. And so what I would say to that for anyone listening is, you know, be really proud of the successes that you have and then don't limit yourself by that. Be willing to keep evolving and growing. But I did so many cold pitches when I was trying to find people for Spring Fling and lots of people ignored me and lots of people said no. And I was just really determined. I had this vision. I wanted to have an event where people came together and learned from each other. I really wanted it to be free and I really wanted it to be an experience for people at all stages of business to be able to be in the same spot and to just be exposed to different ideas and opportunities. And I really think I achieved that from that event, which was really exciting for me.
And now you're going to be talking specifically about events and like how to run your own conference during the Teacher Seller Summit. And we are super stoked to have you talking about that there. But let's talk more about the collaborative piece with this. So you saw like, okay, this is incredible. This is amazing. From there, how did you branch out to do more collaborations in other areas of your business?
Yeah, so a lot of that had to do with the relationships that I built. I found that I wanted to talk more to people about what they were doing, and I wanted to be able to see how we could work together, especially after that experience I had in Spring Fling. And so a lot of those people that presented at that very first Spring Fling are still people I collaborate with all the time. Some other collaborative experiences I've done, collaborative workshop with people where we both host the workshop as a paid event. I've done free email list growth types things where we do like a collaborative opt-in to grow our email lists. I've traded modules in people's courses where I've recorded a module for their course. They've recorded a module for my course. I've been like a guest presenter inside of memberships. I've done like collaborative Instagram content, and I'm sure other things I can't think of. And a lot of those relationships have come either from people that I worked with in a certain event or from people that I started building relationships with on Instagram. And it really came from this belief in my soul that we're so much better when we are working with people who are different from us and we can learn from each other. And I think that that's an important part of it because it's easy to look at collaboration as a growth opportunity or a money-making opportunity. And it can be those things. And I have grown a lot in my business numbers wise, and I've made money from these events. But even more than that, I found really good friends and I've been able to learn from them and also share my experiences.
I love that. Can we talk for a second about, and maybe you've never had a negative experience with collaborations, but have you ever, because I think for me personally, when I was really worried about like partnering with somebody or, doing a collaboration with someone, I'm going to partner with someone, it's not going to be a good fit. Or I'm going to collaborate with somebody, they're not going to hold up their end of the bargain. They're not going to do what they said to do, or there's going to be some sort of tension or disagreement, like something's not going to go well. Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, so I can say I have had negative experiences in that route. People who haven't held up their end of the deal, or maybe we just didn't really kind of click together personality wise, or, different things like that. And I by no means want to throw anyone under the bus. I really just take it from a place of it wasn't a good fit for me. Like the two of us just didn't fit well together, but it could be a good fit for someone else. And I think a big lesson for me to learn from that is to not let that negative experience impact a future experience, to look at each individual individually. Another thing I learned from that was just that importance of building relationships. And so having a variety of types of collaboration opportunities, that I have some that are cold pitches where I go into that knowing I don't know a lot about this person yet. So I'm kind of seeing where this is going to go. And then I have some that are more warm pitches where I've spoken to this person a lot of times, or I have experience with them before. And so I kind of already know something about them. I've also just kind of had to learn what I'm looking for in someone who's collaborating. I know that when I'm hosting an event like Spring Fling, I'm really looking for people that I can count on to deliver. And so that's really important for me when I'm looking for that. But when I'm doing something like an email opt-in, I'm not looking for the same qualities in a person. And I might not even be looking for the same level of experience in a person or the same kind of relationship. So kind of lessons I've learned along my journey of lots of collaborations is kind of being clear to myself up front of what I'm looking for, personality traits I'm looking for, or skill sets I'm looking for, so I kind of know how to narrow it down.
I love that. If somebody wants to start with a collaborative event, you talked about the 3 different types that there are, like paid, some affiliate, one where you're making 1% of money and somebody else is making a different percentage, and then one where you're splitting. What type would you recommend that somebody start with that would be, the most quote unquote safe?
I think a free collaboration is really safe to start with because people feel more comfortable about the terms of that collaboration. It can help you kind of practice, because I think you almost have to grow your muscles of collaboration a little bit, like become more comfortable with it. And I could talk a little bit about things I would recommend for a free collaboration. I think it's really important when you start to identify what value each person's going to be taking, especially yourself. Make sure that you're getting some value from it. And things that can be value from a free collaboration are like followers on a social media platform, more people on your email list. Also, the relationship you're building with this person can be a form of value. Like maybe you don't anticipate to get a lot of followers, but you do anticipate building a relationship with this person. That could be beneficial for you. And then another type of value can just be additional eyes on your content. And that's a harder to measure one, but it can still be a form of value. So I'd say when you're starting any collaboration, but especially a free one, clearly identify what value each person involved in it is going to experience, and then use that to help you determine what you're going to give to the collaboration and what you would like the other person to give. And I think if you're organizing the collaboration, it's okay for it to appear like you are benefiting more from the collaboration because you are taking on the load of organizing. And that is not selfish and that is not mean. It's okay. Organizing is a lot of work, and the people participating in it will expect that it's going to be giving you additional benefit, and that is totally okay.
Absolutely. I think so much people kind of fall into one of two categories when it comes to collaborations that are, especially collaborations that are free, but even I've seen collaborations that are paid, where they either try to split the workload evenly among everybody participating. And I'm not saying that that's like never a good thing and that you shouldn't do it, but I do feel like that can get very chaotic. And then like if somebody doesn't hold up their end of the bargain, there's really no way to hold them accountable. Somebody just has to pick up the slack. And then the other way is to try to do all of the work yourself, but to do the opposite of what you were saying, which is like making yourself a martyr without realizing it, where you're like, oh no, I'm going to keep everything fair. I'm going to exclude myself from any special privileges. And that's really just not fair to yourself when you're the person that's doing all the work. So I really love that you made that point. And one thing that you said earlier too, when you were talking about you never know where something could lead, where you're partnering with somebody and as you're working with them, like you're building a relationship with them. And that's actually how, I've talked about on the podcast before a lot about Brooklyn, my business partner. We started doing one small collaboration together on Instagram to get more eyes on our freebies, to just do like flash freebies with different people. And, here we are, I think 2.5 years later, and we have 4 full-on businesses together. You just never know where something is going to go when you're partnering with people. And I think that it really speaks to your point where you say it's so valuable to step outside of your comfort zone and to start building relationships with people, because it can be a giant benefit to your business in ways that I never even myself could have imagined that collaboration could be. So tell us a little bit more about Spring Fling. I don't want to talk so much about collaboration because you're doing an entire presentation on it in Spring Fling, and I want everybody to go and to attend your presentation. But can you tell us a little bit about Spring Fling, when it is? And I will have a link down in the description where people can go and they can sign up.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you a little bit of the history of Spring Fling and where it came from, and then I'll tell you how you can sign up for this year. So Spring Fling really began because I had this goal of bringing people together. When I first started Spring Fling, there really were not very many online conferences for teacher business owners. I am thrilled that there are so many. I by no means feel threatened or mad. I am so excited about it because there are more places for people to come together and learn from each other, and that's really important to me, that connection building. So I started Spring Fling with this goal, bringing people together. And now here we are 4 years in. I host it every March, and it is my favorite thing that I do. I don't say that lightly. That's not like a marketing tactic. It really is my favorite thing. It's a ton of work. I work on it for months and months to pull off the event. Like, speaking of being the organizer and doing a lot of work, it's a lot of work, but I love it because of that relationship building that happens between people. And each year I try to look for new people that we can bring in to collaborate with, because I recognize the opportunities that I had as a new business owner when people invested in me and gave me a chance to be in front of other people. And I want to use this space to give other people a chance. But I also want to use this space to bring together thought leaders and experts of a variety of topics, because sometimes you've only been exposed to one thing. Like, you've only heard of using Facebook groups and you don't even know that there's people on YouTube. Or sometimes when you're on Teachers Pay Teachers, you've really heard a ton about taking product photos, but you've never heard about mockups. And so by having all these different perspectives, you can just be inspired of new ways to go in your business. And that's my hope, is that people coming to Spring Fling will find that inspiration. So this year's event will be March 25th through 27th, and that will be the free weekend, and all of the sessions will be available to watch for free. I know I mentioned before, but by no means do I expect anyone to watch all of the sessions during the weekend. That isn't the hope. The hope is that you'll find the few things that you really need, and then if you're really excited about learning more, you have the opportunity to learn more, but you don't have to. And you can find me on Instagram as Basic Girl Teaches. I do spend most of my marketing time on Instagram. That's the place I am the most. So that's the best place to find me. And I'll be continuing to share information about Spring Fling over the next 6 weeks or so leading up to the event. And we're really thrilled to have Lauren back again for another year at Spring Fling. So we'll be excited to have you there.
I really enjoyed being at Spring Fling last year, and so I was thrilled when you asked me again, and I'm excited to do it again this year. You can find the link to that down inside of the description. I encourage everybody to attend. Like Jamie said, even if you just show up, there's how many presenters did you say? Over 30 this year?
We have over 30 this year, yes.
Can you tease us a little bit? Who's coming?
Yeah, I totally can. I don't know if I can tell you who's coming yet. I'm going to let them announce themselves, but I can tell their topic. We have people talking about getting started on Pinterest, specifically like, if you have not used Pinterest before, how do you get started with Pinterest? And we have someone talking about using podcasting. We have talking about adding VA services, using templates to build your products, kind of some tricks on the back end of Google Sheets to build your products, some things about accounting, quite a few things about branding and marketing. And then excited to have someone join us to talk about Shopify, if you want to add that as an option to your store, using ChatGPT to kind of expand your marketing as a tool. I'm talking about collaboration. There's kind of a little teaser of some of the sessions that'll be included.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so excited. So we're going to put all of that information down inside of the description, so you can follow Jamie and see the presenters as she kind of announces them, and we get a little bit closer to Spring Fling. So you'll want to be following her for that. And then you can also go to the website itself and join. Thank you so much for being here, Jamie. And we will all see you at Spring Fling.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. Always great to be here.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it and subscribe. I put out weekly content for TpT sellers, and we have a lot of incredible guest appearances coming up on the podcast in the coming months, leading up to Teacher Seller Summit. As I mentioned before, Jamie is not only organizing Spring Fling and creating this incredible free conference for TpT sellers, she's also going to be joining us at Teacher Seller Summit in the summer, and she's going to be talking about how to host your own conference and how it can help you grow your business. And there are many other Teacher Seller Summit presenters who are going to be coming on the podcast as well to share their wisdom with you in the coming weeks. And I cannot wait for you to meet them. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you do not miss them. And make sure you sign up for Spring Fling down inside of the description so you don't forget. All right, I'll just see you in the next video.